During International Suicide Prevention Week, September 8th through 15th, River Pines Horse Sanctuary invites the public to Horses for Hope, emotional strength training as a suicide prevention strategy, a well-being journey through the way of the horse. This workshop is an opportunity to learn important suicide prevention concepts through horse grooming, an activity that is known to boost oxytocin levels in the brain, lowering blood pressure, and fostering social connection responses. A limited number of appointments are available. Call 406-304-6433 to schedule yours today.
Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? Do you want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policies? The Montana Renewable Energy Association is a leading voice for renewable energy education and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. It's 4 o'clock. Welcome to Montana's only statewide sports talk show. Broadcast on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Western Montana and across the state on SWX Television.
I like football!
Now, the 2017 Radio Sports Broadcaster of the Year on the show with back-to-back Montana Broadcaster Association awards for sports coverage and award-winning sports journalism. Here is Ryan Tootell and Colter Nuanez.
We take a look ahead to the weekend forthcoming. We get you some wings. We talk about some beers. And we have a great exclusive interview with former University of Montana head football coach Robin Pflugrad. It is Tootell and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio and across the state on SWX Montana Television. Outstanding to be with you. Thanks for spending some time with us on your radios, on your televisions, or on your internets. However you get on there. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. You can find us on the World Wide Web, 1029ESPN.com. There you can listen to the stream. The stream is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The stream is there thanks to Opportunity Bank. Your local bank, your opportunity. If you want to pick up your phone and give a call, 329-1899, the phone number, 329-1899. 1899, that phone number. All guests join us via the Rankage Brothers RV phone line. Plenty to get to today. We're going to spend some time looking ahead to the Montana State Western Illinois football game and the Grizzly Oregon football game. It is a Wednesday, boys and girls. Did you know that? Middle of the week, hump day. So we have some wings for you from the Desperado Sports Tavern. We are going to give away wings via trivia, a little game we do here every Wednesday. Wing It Wednesday today. Got some my questions revolve around, well, what else? Gambling, of course. More specifically, point spreads, because there's a giant one in the NFL this week, and it got me to thinking about other giant NFL lines. So we will get into that and maybe even the Grizz-Oregon spread if you want to, file that away for a rainy day coming up in about 30 minutes. We will also have Erin Parchette in studio. She is with the Montana Brewers Association, and they are having their annual Montana Brewers Brew Fest down at Karis Park in Missoula here this Saturday afternoon. So she's going to come tell us all about that. This is a good one, boys and girls. There's multiple brew fests throughout the year in the city of Missoula, but this is a good one. Can you say bottomless? Okay? I don't want to give it away, don't bury the lead, but bottomless. Okay. Top of the hour, we will also have Coulter's Wing It Wednesday, and then we will hear from Robin Pflugrad, who spoke with Coulter earlier today in a pretty significant long interview with the former coach who is now the assistant head coach at Northern Arizona University, back into college football coaching is Robin Pflugrad. So we will hear from him talking about his time, obviously at the University of Montana, and some reflections on that, and then a look at the Montana-Oregon football game as well. Coulter, if you're watching on the television, on the stream, on YouTube, is not in studio at the moment. He is on his way. He is down at practice interviewing Bobby Hauck right now for the University of Montana, and then he will also be out of here a little bit early. Typical. Should I say this? Can I say this? Because I know he's listening and driving back. Typical. Show up late, leave early. No, come on now. Why do I do that to my guy? He's out there working hard. So anyway, Coulter will be in here in just a minute and talk to us a little bit about practice. And he's going to go back to practice and interview a couple of players as well. So he'll be in here in just a moment. Wanted to talk, though, a little bit here off the top of the show about the Western Illinois-Montana State football game that's upcoming. We talked about this yesterday, but Jeff Choate has sort of highlighted this and frankly, I think put a little bit of pressure on his team, saying this is the prove it game for us. This is the one that we got to have. This is the one that is going to effectively make or break our season. And I thought that was an interesting way to put this, an interesting thing to have out there as part of what he said. But he was very clear about that, and so I wanted to kind of expand on that. In fact, like Coach Choate expand on that a little bit. He was asked in the in the press conference on Monday what the mindset of this team is coming out of last week and heading into this week. This is what he had to say.
I think we've been a very business-like outfit for a while. I think our fall camp was very much like that. I also think that, we had an experience last year where we played a ranked team, that was a playoff team the year before, had an emotional victory at home, and we played extremely poorly the next week on the road at South Dakota State. And that's one of the things we talked about yesterday, and I think it's definitely in our guys' mind that, we got to be on a different mission. We get nothing this week for what happened on Saturday night, nothing. And we're going to play a really good opponent who's going to be challenging to compete against, and we need our best.
I think this is a direct reaction, clearly, right, to what happened at the beginning of last year with the win over Western Illinois, oddly enough, the very team that they're going to play this week. And then, a trouncing in Brookings against South Dakota State. Now, South Dakota State, a top 5 team, at the time. Very, very good team, great program. Using a backup quarterback in that football game, but they were run out of the building, so to speak, at South Dakota State last year. And look, for as good as a team can be, when your team has played a good game, an average game, or a bad game. Montana State played a bad game coming off an emotional, big home opening victory. And that is the thing that I think has Coach Choate on high alert headed into this one. I maintain, as I did yesterday, that the South Dakota game, the game last week against Southeast Missouri State, the number 12 team in the nation, was a bigger game. It just was a bigger game. The win means more beating that team than it would on Saturday should they be victorious against Western Illinois. That said, the idea that a loss on Saturday nullifies that win against Southeast Missouri State, I don't think that it does, but it certainly mutes it. I mean, it certainly takes away that momentum that you have, the energy of your team, and also your spot in the top 10, in the nation, which if they are able to win this football game in Macomb on Saturday, it's going to go a long way to keeping them in the top 10 for a long time. I mean, I think they're going to be there for a long time to come. The Bobcats are. We've also talked extensively about the quarterback situation and Casey Ballman being named quarterback. But as we've seen now through 2 weeks, a lot of guys, Travis Johnson, Troy Anderson, some of the running back guys, getting in there, taking snaps under center for different looks and doing different things with it. And sometimes just for no other reason than take the ball and hand it off just to keep the looks changing for the opponent. That also, though, can make it difficult to get into the flow as a quarterback. Here's what Jeff Choate had to say on the multiple quarterbacks that they are using.
One of the challenges that we face a little bit on offense is how do we get all these guys involved, and especially when you're changing quarterbacks. You're in the flow, and then you say, hey, we're going to put Troy in on this down, or we're going to put Travis in on this down, and Casey's up. And that's one of the things that we're working through is how can we continue to maintain good tempo, good flow within the offense while we're moving the pieces around. And you see that a little bit with with Isaiah at running back, with Logan at running back, with Logan on fly sweep. And I think that's going to make us really difficult to defend, but we can't do it at the expense of us not executing it at a high level. And so that I think some of the lulls that we had on offense on Saturday was a little bit of a result of that. Just our flow wasn't what it needed to be, and that's a huge challenge because what we're doing isn't easy. Most people just line up with one guy behind center and they roll. And we're trying to maximize our guys and get creative in what we do to make it easy for us and difficult for the opponent. And that's still a work in progress, I think.
Well, it is a work in progress, and it's not easy to do. Listen, two guys threw passes, quote-unquote passes. Travis Johnson was the only person other than Casey Bauman to record what was technically a pass. It was really, right, the Bob Stitt special, the tip drill forward to Logan Jones that turned into a 55-yard touchdown pass, but it was effectively a fly sweep, a jet sweep. So Casey Bauman's the only one throwing the football right now for Montana State. I think Montana State could be well served to mix in a one down the field attempt from somebody who isn't Casey Bauman just to keep the looks up and break tendencies and do all that. That said, 8 guys carried the football and recorded rushes for Montana State, and another 6 guys, recorded a reception, at least one in the game. And so they did an effective job of 14 different guys carrying or running the ball. Now, a couple of guys caught and rushed the ball, so it wasn't 14 different individuals, but 14 different touches to people either receiving or running the football. That's a lot when you talk about, the number of opportunities you have to actually have to go out there and have a play in the football game. But mixing that up, I think you have a great opportunity, if you're the Bobcats, to really keep defenses completely turned around and puzzled. You can't, however, puzzle yourself in the process of doing that, and I think that is a big challenge for both Coach Choate and especially for Matt Miller. Coulter, welcome in, my man. How are you? Welcome back.
Shweddy. I'm great.
Yeah, it's like it is where we're in that spot, aren't we? Where it's like cool in the morning, go pants, maybe go flannel like I've done.
Yep.
And right now you just go, what in the world was I thinking?
I know I'm wearing like the lace-up leather shoes, and my feet are just on fire.
Let's continue. You set this up with me, earlier today, talking about this and this situation. But when you hear Coach Choate go, look, I mean, the fact is, the challenge is we got so many guys to give the ball to, particularly when we're playing multiple guys under center. It's a difficult thing to do and to do well, and we are, quote, still working through some of that. They're going to be working through that for the duration of the year, it seems to me. I mean, I don't know that you get to a point where you're just going to, okay, we've figured out what we're going to do, because if you figured that out, you're kind of giving away the game plan. I mean, in part, it has to be a bit of a mystery each and every week. It has to be new each week what you're going to do, or else you will get those tendencies figured out, right?
It's such an interesting premise in college football, because you recruit every guy for a reason, and you're going to love the potential of the guys that aren't your headline starters. And oftentimes you're going to actually love that potential more than you love the guys that are your frontline stars, because you know what your frontline stars are going to give you. You wonder what the non-frontline guys might be able to give you. And so I think it's one of the things that coaches rack their brains about the most. And I also think it's one of the funniest narratives in college football, because everybody talks about how many great weapons that they have. And sometimes it's such a game plan thing. Coach Choate was breaking down Western Illinois, which I know we're going to get into here in a second. But you remember, number one, Tony Tate from Western Illinois last year. He was their other slash guy besides Steve McShane. He had that 63-yard kickoff return to open the second half.
Yep.
They handed him the ball in the fly sweep.
He was great.
Multiple times. He ended up last year with 29 touches the whole year. He had 7 pivotal touches in Bozeman, and he was a starter.
Yeah.
That's how hard it is to spread it around, though. I think about this with Gabe Sulser all the time. Like, Montana State's received so much criticism for putting Troy Anderson at quarterback. The fact of the matter is, though, when Troy Anderson's at quarterback, you snap him the ball every time. Guess what that means?
Touch.
That's a chance for Troy Anderson to get a touch. You don't have to have anybody else hand it to him, pitch it to him, throw it to him. He's got the ball in his hands. Advantage Montana State. Think about Gabe Sulser. Right now, give me the over-under. Is Gabe Sulser going to touch the ball over or under 100 times by the end of his sophomore year this season? In his career so far, I think he had something like 20.
Like by the end of this year.
By the end of this year,
it's going to be way under.
Way under.
Way
right?
under. Yes.
And so his career will be halfway. I mean, give me the over under on even 60 touches.
Right. I mean, he had 3 touches last week, and I think 1 in week 1.
I'm getting his career stats up here right now. So right now, Gabe Sulser has. As far as touches from scrimmage, he's got 7 carries and 19 receptions, and 12 receptions. Excuse me. So 19 total touches from scrimmage in 2 years.
In a year and 2 games.
In a year and 2 games. So in the remaining 10 games on Montana's regular season schedule, maybe he gets 5 touches a game, so he gets to 50 touches.
He is going to get more, certainly, going forward than he had as a true freshman.
Maybe. Maybe.
Right.
I mean, what really is the over-under for touches from scrimmage for Gabe Sulser this year? 40? 50? It's not as many as a guy with his level of talent should have, but it's because of course you're going to throw the ball to Jerry Lou McGee 8 to 10 times a game. Of course you are. How could you not?
Right.
Of course you're going to throw the ball to Sammy Akim 7 to 9 times a game. Of course you're going to throw the ball to Samori Toure 7 to 9 times a game. Well, add them up, do the math. There's 27 of your throws right there. And then maybe Colin Bingham breaks open for one. Matt Rensville breaks open for one. There's not very many throws left to have. And I think it's interesting because people that know the internal workings of programs, which coaches, the head coach knows it better than anybody. But then when you cover a team from an up close and personal view like we do, the Cats and the Grizz, you can talk all about the weapon that Willie Patterson could be at Montana State, the weapon that Mitch Roberts could be at Montana. And they could be, but they're not yet. And it takes so much for coaches to have the trust. Because how good do you have to be and how good do you have to look if you're Mitch Roberts to steal snaps from Samori Toure? You have to be lights out, ridiculously good, right? So I think it is an interesting deal, but I also think that's why what Montana State does on offense is so creative. Because how many touches is Travis Johnson realistically going to get when you don't have a guy that's really that capable of throwing the ball more than 15, maximum 20 times a game? He's not going to get – if you're throwing the ball 20 times a game and you're going to make sure that Kevin Cassis gets 5 touches, that means you got 15 other passes the whole game to get to Travis Johnson.
Well, look, you're hard-pressed to say through 2 weeks, and look, I mean, one of those is Texas Tech, so it kind of is what it is. I think you can pretty much throw that game tape out. But they obviously did a good job, right? They got a nice mix of guys running the football. 46 total carries, 8 different guys registering at least 2 carries in the game. In fact, it's actually funny. The bottom 5 guys, 2 carries, 3 carries, 4 carries, 5 carries, 6 carries. They just ramped them right up the list. And then Troy Anderson there with 6, Logan Jones with 8, and then Isaiah Fonse leading the way with 11. It's not as if they had a guy who had 30 touches and everybody else had 2. They did on the rushes, I should say, not touches, but rushes.
Totally. I mean, the average college football team runs 70 to 80 plays a game, which is a ton. That's a ton. But to even get the proliferation of touches that you want to get all the guys that you need to get or that you would hope to get involved, you got to run 90 to 95 plays a game. That's not really in
Montana State ran 60.
That's what I'm saying. It's not really in the DNA of the Cats or the Grizz. The other thing that's interesting about Montana State in terms of the number of plays that they run and the way that they control the clock is that Jeff Choate, there's this notion that he wants to sit on the clock, and it's not true for one reason. Because the diversity of the way that they get the ball to whoever is the trigger man on that specific play, combined with who is the trigger man on any given specific play, especially if that guy is Troy Anderson or Travis Johnson or Kevin Cassis, they actually manufacture more big plays than any team in the league other than Eastern Washington, and they do it with their quarterback run game. In other words, Montana State, against Idaho last year, for example, they had the ball for 17 minutes because Troy Anderson scored a 65-yard touchdown and a 71-yard touchdown. The drive lasted for 20 seconds, both plays.
Yes.
And then Idaho gets the ball, and Mason Petrino throws 17 3-yard passes per possession, and Idaho has the ball for 10 minutes at a time to get 1 field goal. So I guess what I'm saying is sometimes time of possession is overrated, but also the notion that Montana State likes to sit on the clock. They do if they have a lead, but oftentimes it's not even in the cards because sitting on the clock goes by the wayside when Troy Anderson puts his foot in the ground and he's gone.
Well, and the presumption, too, is that if you want to be a run the football type of team, big guys up front, hand the ball off, or in this case, carry it from the quarterback spot, however that works out, that you are, in virtue of that, a slow, plodding, time-sucking type of football team. You can run the ball just as fast as you can move the ball. You can run plays just as fast as anybody. Just happens that those plays are run plays rather than the air raid or whatever it might be. And the efficacy of that is not, in fact, can be increased. I mean, you would want to, if you're changing quarterbacks a lot, it seems to me, run a little bit quicker. Because all of a sudden they're going, okay, what number's under center? Who is that guy? What's this guy? I mean, that's a tough scout for a defense to try and figure out, is this Troy Anderson? Is it Travis Johnson? Is it Casey Ballman who's standing back there? And if so, what is the type of thing that we expect this guy to do, under center?
The notion of wanting to be a balanced offense with a more traditional pass game and how essential that is to be a complete and diverse attack, I think that that's a little bit overrated in the case of Montana State because they have been so creative in getting their playmakers the ball. Almost every team in the country you can think of to score a 75-yard touchdown consistently, they need to throw the ball, or they need to run some sort of play with some misdirection or some sort of bells and whistles, smoke and mirrors. When you can truly just run quarterback counter, and I mean, it's not as if it happened a couple times. Troy Anderson scored 13 touchdowns of 50 yards or more. 13. Think of that. It's astounding stat. To just snap the ball to the guy and he's gone. So I get the whole notion of that there's been so much criticism heaped upon the Bobcat coaching staff for not being able to recruit a quarterback, not being able to develop a quarterback. But Jeff Choate is very defiant in the way he responds to that. And in a certain way, I don't blame him. If you can have more big plays than anybody in the league with having almost zero risk of the exchange of the football, that's advantage Montana State all day long. It's very similar to what Sam Houston State did when they had their run of 3 straight semifinals appearances, 2 national championship games. They were running the spread option, and they would oftentimes line up a young man named Richard Sincere in the gun, and he would just do their gun run stuff, run the option. He would take it. He would never throw it. Everybody knew when Sincere was in the game, they were running the option. Couldn't stop it. Richard Sincere and Tim Flanders, that was one of the best big play combos in the entire FCS, and Sam Houston State killed people with it. It's very similar to what Montana State's doing right now.
It's Tootell Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. So, big game against Western Illinois. What can the Bobcats expect out of Western Illinois and Macomb? This is what Jeff Choate had to say in his scout of the Leathernecks.
I like their quarterback. I think he's not as mobile as the guy they had last year, doesn't have as much experience perhaps, but he's very accurate and he can make all the throws. 6'3", 215 pounds, kind of more of a conventional pocket passer, but he can make all the throws. They've got some weapons. I think Coach Elliott has a pretty sharp offensive mind. I mean, I think he does some things that really present challenges to the defense. They're always going to stretch you and test you on the perimeter with the fly sweep game. That's a big part of what they do. Number one, that Tony Tate, he's a good player. He's a threat in the return game, and they're going to get him the ball. He's going to have his touches, whether it's handing him the ball on fly sweep, dialing up shots for him in the pass game. I think very much they have a DNA in terms of their run game. They use a lot of tight ends, a lot of formations. They have great tempo in and out of the huddle, and they'll run some unbalanced sets. But they also are very unique in that they don't necessarily – they're a little bit more of a game plan outfit when it comes to the pass game. And so they're going to identify the weaknesses that you have in your coverages, and they're going to attack them. The other guy that's going to get his touches is 25. Really good football player. He's not their primary tailback. 21's their primary tailback, but they will put 25 in there. They'll run slip screens with him. They'll motion him out of the backfield and get him the ball. They'll run some slide boot, get him in space, and even some fly sweep with him. I mean, he's a guy that, again, you can tell they're designing their game plan around making sure that they get their touches to those two individuals in particular. Their D-line is the strength of their defense. Excellent defensive line. They're well coached. Big physical group. They lost a great player a year ago that was one of the FCS players that was drafted. I don't see a lot of drop-off on that unit, however. I think that's a very good unit.
So compliments to the defensive line there. What you don't hear there is the fact that they are young and new at linebacker and also have some transfers in the secondary as well. So it is the front four is certainly the strength, as Jeff Choate just said, of that defense, but they're good in their own right, but also I think there's been a little bit of a drop-off on the back end on the Western Illinois defense. But, Coulter, when you look at the Western Illinois and you put out things you need to know, your first look at Skyline Sports MT, what do you think or what do you see about the Leathernecks and what Montana's going to have to do?
Well, every once in a while in college football, a team gears up for what they think is going to be a special season. And that season was last season for Western Illinois. Western Illinois had made the playoffs 2 of the previous 3 seasons. They'd gone through a coaching change with Charlie Fisher going to join Herm Edwards' staff at Arizona State and Jared Elliott taking over. As even with a first-year head coach, though, they had 23 seniors. They had Khalil Jenkins, who's widely considered – Khalil Saunders, excuse me. I always get Khalil Jenkins and Khalil Saunders mixed up. Khalil Jenkins was the quarterback at Cal Poly. Khalil Saunders.
Khalil Mack, do you ever get those mixed up?
Saunders was arguably the best defensive tackle in the entire country. I mean, he's a 2-time All-American. He was a 3rd-round draft pick by the Kansas City Chiefs after his senior year. They had him. They had Xavier Rowe, who was a multiple-time All-American, a multiple-time All-Conference guy on the back end. They had multiple All-Conference linebackers. And then on offense, they had Sean McGuire, who was a 4-year starter. They had Steve McShane, who was a 4-year starter. They had guys for days. They ended up having 8 seniors that earned all Missouri Valley honors last year. and they still went 5-6. When you gear up for that special season and you have so much talent and you have so many veteran guys, and then it goes awry, I think that just impacts the momentum of your program so much because it's so disappointing. And I think it's even accentuated when it happens in year one of a coach because you can't just fire this guy. It's not necessarily his fault.
Right.
Well, maybe it is, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, I mean, regardless, you can't just hire him and fire. I mean, I guess you could, but it's very rare that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But then I think it just makes your rebuild even more daunting. And when you look at Western Illinois, I mean, Coach Cho mentioned Clint Rakovich, the fullback. That's their only returning starter on offense. The only one.
It's amazing.
They have no seniors on their offensive line, none. And on defense, they only have 4 starters with starting experience. They got a captain who's never started a game before this year as one of their 2 defensive captains. In fact, both of their defensive captains are first-year starters. So that shows you just how young the program is. That said, Western Illinois has been in this exact same situation a year ago, having lost a close game in their opener and lost to an FBS team in their second game, and then coming back home for their first home game of the season against the Montana Grizzlies last year. And they beat Montana.
Who they beat.
And I think that's why Jeff Choate on high alert. I think there's 2 factors. One, Western Illinois beat the Grizz in what at the end of the season was considered an upset. And number 2, like Jeff Choate said in that soundbite, Montana State won the Gold Rush in an emotional game at home last year. And they couldn't have looked worse against South Dakota State.
No.
I mean, I remember texting the sports information director at Montana State and saying, I'm not trying to be mean here. Is this the worst the Cats have ever looked through one half of football? I mean, they were down 35-0, and it was like not even the same world, them in South Dakota State. So I think that's why Jeff Choate's on high alert. That said, I think Western Illinois is a team that's in rebuild mode this year.
Be a fun game. They're all fun. This will be a very good one, and this is a major game. Obviously, every game in conference is probably a bigger game than just about every game at non-conference. But this is as big as it gets, for a little while for Montana State, it would seem. And if they can get a win here, they're going to set themselves up for a big time success, it seems to me, going down the road. It's Tootell, Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Okay? Who wants some wings? Hands up. No, don't take your hand off the steering wheel. Just trust me. Why don't you just give me a call? 329-1899, 329-1899. We got wings from the Desperado Sports Tavern. And some trivia questions for you. Trivia questions about point spreads, specifically football. The NFL for 2 and Grizz and Ducks for another. 329-1899. You want some wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern? Give us a shout. See if we can't hook you up next.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. You know, we've been helping keep folks safe on the road around here since 1952. That's why you can save up to $152 on a set of 4 select light truck and SUV tires during our fall tire sale. So swing by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952. Limited time offer while supplies last. Discount depends on tire size and type. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
At the Montana Club, our goal is to create a menu of mouth-watering food with variety to satisfy any craving. From the garden fresh ingredients in our salads to our succulent, perfectly grilled Montana Club Angus steaks, we take pride in every detail that goes into preparing your food. Top off your meal with a premium cocktail, wine, or microbrew. Come as you are and satisfy your craving with our home-style breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Hey folks, Ryan Tootell here with Josh from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident and need help dealing with the insurance company, you should give The Advocates a call.
It doesn't cost anything at all to call, and I'd be happy to talk with you about your situation. You don't want to have to be dealing with contacting the insurance companies and setting up your claim. We can do that for you from start to finish. We'll take the hassle out of the process so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give Josh a call, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers, but you deserve an advocate.
Soft Landing Missoula, along with sponsors Imagination Brewing Company and Sweet Peaks Ice Cream, is hosting Missoula's 3rd annual Welcoming Week. In tandem with thousands of other organizations and communities nationwide, Soft Landing hopes to inspire and celebrate welcoming all people to the Missoula community. Highlights of this year's week will include an Eritrean coffee ceremony, an international soccer match, and a Middle Eastern dessert pop-up sale. For more info and a full calendar of events, please visit softlandingmissoula.org.
This is Tom Skerritt for the Borgen Project. Each year, nearly 2 million children die from preventable diseases. Each day, 30,000 people die from hunger. 500 each hour are children. The Borgen Project is turning this around. We need your help. To learn more, go to borgenproject.org. That's BORGEN project.org.
The Montana Senior Medicare Patrol reminds seniors to never give out your personal information to an unsolicited caller. A Social Security impersonation scam is currently being reported across the state of Montana. Persons pretending to be Social Security Administration employees are making calls with the intent of stealing the victim's identity. If you suspect someone of impersonating the Social Security Administration, please call Montana Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-800-551-3191.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tootell, Colton Nuanez, ESPN Sports Center. Last weekend, all 3 Missoula High School Class AA football teams posted victories for the first time in quite a while. Yeah, on the same Friday night. Doing it all at once is the point. Missoula Sentinel moved to 2-0 with a stifling defensive effort spurred on by an 85-yard punt return for a touchdown by future Grizz Jackson Lee in a 21-3 win over Billings Senior. Hellgate, who had a bye in the first week of the season, won its season opener for the first time since 2000, routing Billings Skyview 39-0 in Missoula. And Missoula Big Sky earned its first win of the season with an impressive 21-18 upset victory over number 5 Bozeman.
For 2 weeks, defending state champion Billings West, the only Eastern AA team with an unblemished record. The Golden Bears ran past Big Sky in their opener, then dismantled Flathead last week. 4 teams, Butte, Helena, Capital, and Sentinel, in the Western AA are 2-0 so far. The East has just 3 wins total combined, whole East. The third being by Bozeman, while the Class AA West 11-4 so far early on.
Pretty strong on the west side. Hamilton and Frenchtown each moved to 2-0 last week, accelerating their collision course for a Week 5 showdown. Carson Rostad, the reigning Montana Gatorade Player of the Year and quarterback for Hamilton, has already thrown 10 touchdowns in the Bronx wins. Frenchtown junior Chase Kuchowicz has already scored 6.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
For some wings? It's a rhetorical question. It's obvious. Coulter and I already got him knocked down for the day.
We did indeed.
It's Tootell Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. You can find us on Twitter at Gus Tootell, at 102.9 ESPN, and at Skyline Sports MT. Everything you ever needed on Twitter, that's where you can go. They are called handles. No one really knows why. It's time for a Wing It Wednesday. See if we can't give away some wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern. We welcome Corey to the show. Corey, how are you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
Doing great, Corey. Appreciate it very much. Now, Corey, the questions I have today are about point spreads in football, and specifically a couple of NFL Vegas point spreads and the Grizz Oregon game. Are you into that? Do you know about that kind of stuff?
A little bit.
Now, I hear
that's probably my weakest point.
Now, I know what you're doing right now, Corey. You're a degenerate, but you're trying to hide it on the radio. That's what's happening here, okay? So it's okay. You're amongst friends here, okay? So here we go. We're going to get 3 questions for you. If you get 2 of them right, you got yourself wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern. If you get all 3, you got yourself a shirt. If you need help on any of these, Coulter is your lifeline, all right?
Fantastic. Let's do it.
Tell me likey. Tell me want wingy.
Okay, here we go. Corey, question number 1. There is a huge line on the NFL docket this week, and it is the New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. I will just tell you that the New England Patriots are favored in that game, okay? That should not come as much of a surprise, right? That the Patriots are favored against the hapless Miami Dolphins.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
To within 3 points. Tell me, what is the line on this football game right now in terms of the number of points by which, as a betting favorite, New England is favored over Miami? And by NFL standards, it's big.
Boy, I would have to say is it 3 touchdowns or 4? I would say...
Say 3, Corey.
I'm going to say 3.
I'll tell you this, Corey. I've never seen a 4-touchdown line in the NFL. Never.
Well, if there was one, this would be it.
Indeed.
So, okay, give me an actual number, though. Don't give me touchdowns. Tell me the number.
21 points.
21 points. It is 19, and that is a giant number in the NFL.
I would have said 17.
Yeah, and
that's huge.
It is huge. But 19 points is the biggest number that I've seen in recent memory, and it is a big one indeed. The Patriots favored to beat Miami on Sunday. Very good, Corey. Question number 1 in the books. Let's go to question number 2. To within 5 points, now, what is the largest point spread in the history of the NFL? What's the number?
Within 5 points. I think I'm going to stick with 21 again.
Give it to him.
Corey, you are 5.5 points short.
What?
Minus 26.5. The Raiders were 26.5 point favorites over the Miami Dolphins, again the Dolphins, in 1967. That was also, though, the same line that the Broncos were favored in their run to the Super Bowl in 2013 over the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2013, 26.5. We're going to hold that one. Okay, we're going to hold that one back. You're a half point off. Let me tell you, if this was Vegas, we're keeping the money. Okay, Corey, just for the record. All right, now remember, you still got a lifeline. Here we go. Last question. To within 7 points, what is the Vegas point spread on the Grizz-Oregon football game this weekend? The Oregon Ducks at home against the Montana Grizzlies.
Oh, man. Definitely use the lifeline on that one.
Okay, you want to use a lifeline on this one? Coulter, what is your best offering and help here for Corey?
Has the line moved?
It's moved a little bit. You and I, now here's the thing. There's different places that you can go. There's not like a definitive line. The line that you were looking at, though, is not the line I found. I did not find one as low as what you were looking at before. I found what I think is a more accurate line.
The last line I saw was 36.5.
Okay.
Oregon was favored by 36.5.
Corey, what do you think?
Way.
You want to go with that?
Well, it could be accurate. I doubt that that's going to happen, but I'll go with it.
Now,
wait. So you think the Grizz are going to cover that?
You think it's not going to happen because it's going to be closer than that, or because the Oregon's going to win by more than that?
I think they're going to lose.
You think Oregon's going to lose?
Yeah, why not?
I love this kid. You did go with it though. And it is 36.5 points on the dot. You said to me earlier today, like 28 points you had seen somewhere.
I don't think that that's true. I don't ever remember seeing or saying that.
Well, a lot of times you talk, but your eyes are shut, so I don't exactly know what's going on. Yeah.
Well,
okay, so maybe you opened at 20.
Yeah, I mean,
but yes, 36.5 points.
Sweet.
So 5 touchdowns and change. You have gotten it. Corey, this ain't.
I think they're gonna win. I love it, Corey.
Corey, why are you optimistic about the Grizz chances on Saturday in Eugene?
Because they're my Grizzlies. I love them.
Oh, okay. No. Hey, look, man, that's the right answer. If you were going to start to break stuff down and go, well, here, I think in the 3-4, defensive scheme, there's going to be some whole. I was going to say no. But if it's just sheerly fan love, well, who am I to say otherwise, my friend? Enjoy your wings, and let's give him the shirt, too. 21 points was very, very close to the 5-point spread. Good enough for me. He gets wings and a shirt to the Desperado. Corey, enjoy it. Thanks for the call, all right?
Yeah, thank you.
You bet. Corey, big winner on a Wing It Wednesday. We'll do another one at the top of the hour. We are going to do it at 5 rather than 5:30 as we normally do, because on Wednesdays now, Coulter's out of here. little early to go down and get some players at practice as well. 36.5 points the Grizz-Oregon game and 26.5 from the Broncos. I mean, that's even with whatever the result would be of the game, that's an embarrassment. If you're a 27-point dog in an NFL game, I mean, if you ever break 20, it should just be a rule that there's a new owner of the team. You know, that should be it. Like if Vegas goes, you're going to lose by 3 touchdowns or more, it should just be, you should just have the commissioner have a signed affidavit, you can no longer own this football team. Out of here. The Dolphins are close. Real close right now.
It's just so amazing that there's multiple guys on the Dolphins that are trying to get out after one game.
I mean, that's not amazing, is it? Seems about right.
It just must be so dysfunctional. I mean, they had coaches snorting lines of cocaine before meetings. And that didn't cause guys to want to not be on a different team? Like, if it's worse than that, how bad is it?
Well, it's not. How bad is it? You lost to Lamar Jackson, who scored 59 points on you in his first game of his sophomore season, who scored no points against the Chargers in his last game, effectively.
It's utterly astounding.
I mean, that's how bad it is. It only matters if it's bad on the field, and it's awful on the field. And this looked like, it was bad. Bad news. Ryan Fitzpatrick, rally the troops, bro. What's going on over there? So figure it out. It's Tootell Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Coulter, the Grizzlies being a 36.5-point favorite or underdog, to Oregon on Saturday. I think as numbers go, I think that's a reasonable number. I don't think it needs to be 40-something. I don't think it should be 20-something. I think at mid-30s is about right for this football game. I think that it recognizes how good Oregon is, and it recognizes that at the level how good Montana is. Like if it was Missouri State, notably not Southeast Missouri State, or if it was even at North Alabama going in there, it's probably 48 points. You know, but in this instance, 36 points, I think that's a very reasonable number for it to be on a betting line.
I agree. I mean, I think this is. I'd say it's. I would put, if you would have had me guess this line, I would have said between 36 and 42 points.
It's a pretty wide range right there.
I think that the Grizz will score in the teens and Oregon will score in the 50s.
Okay. Very good. It's Tootell Nuanez. Take a quick break. On the other side, looking forward to this. Erin Parchette. She is with the Montana Brewers Association, and they are having, their annual fall rendezvous. Notably, Brewers, when they have a rendezvous, they bring beer. She's going to tell you all about it right after this.
Alpine Touch has been part of the fabric of Montana for more than 60 years. Decades ago, Russell Street started selling his touch of magic in whitefish. Years later, Alpine Touch's all-purpose seasoning remains a favorite. It's tailgating season, and there's no better way to spice up your grill before a Grizz game than with Alpine Touch. Go to alpinetouch.com now and use the checkout code ESPN10 for a 10% discount on your order. Alpine Touch is here to keep your mouth watering all football season. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice. Hey everybody, here with my good friend Josh from the Advocates Injury Law Firm. Josh, if I've been in an accident, how much is it going to cost me to hire you?
Well, we take cases on a contingency fee. And what that means for you is that if you're hurt in an accident, we only get paid if you make a recovery. You'll never owe us anything out of pocket.
What about the call for a consultation?
That's not a problem. We don't charge anything for an initial consultation, so you have absolutely nothing to risk by calling us.
If you're injured in a car accident, call the Advocates, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com.
The big skies are open. Go wild with Opportunity Reward Checking. Go ahead, jump, dance, shout. Opportunity Reward Checking will make you do that. Go wild when you get your 1% cash back on qualified debit card purchases. It all starts with an Opportunity Reward Checking account from Opportunity Bank. Visit a branch today to get started. Then go wild and spend your 1% cash back however you want. Go wild with Reward Checking from Opportunity Bank. Some restrictions may apply. Member FDIC.
The Polaris Factory Authorized Clearance is here. The world's best-selling off-road lineup is priced to move with financing as low as 3.99% and rebates up to $3,500. Live life wide open in a high-performance RZR. Tackle anything from mountains to mud holes on a legendary Sportsman ATV. Get more done with a hard-working Ranger, or take on any task or trail in a versatile Polaris General. The best deals of the year are happening now. See Polaris.com or your Polaris dealer for rebates up to $3,500 and financing as low as 3.99% APR for 36 months during the Polaris Factory Authorized Clearance. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and Highway 83 in Sealy. Kurtz Polaris is now showcasing all of the new 2020 Polaris off-road vehicles. To be the first to get a great deal on brand new state-of-the-art Polaris vehicles at Kurtz Polaris. Online at KurtzPolaris.com. Rebates valid in U.S. through 9/30/19 on new 2015 through 2019 vehicles. Financing offer valid on 2015 through 2020. Subject to credit approval. Offers vary by model. See dealer for details. Always wear a helmet. Never drink and ride.
During International Suicide Prevention Week, September 8th through 15th, River Pines Horse Sanctuary invites the public to Horses for Hope, emotional strength training as a suicide prevention strategy, a well-being journey through the way of the horse. This workshop is an opportunity to learn important suicide prevention concepts through horse grooming, an activity that is known to boost oxytocin levels in the brain, lowering blood pressure, and fostering social connection responses. A limited number of appointments are available. Call 406-304-6433 to schedule yours today.
Tootell and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Now they always say congratulations. Work so hard, forgot how to vacation. They ain't never had the dedication. People hate and say we changing, look, we made it. Yeah, we made it. That was never friendly. Yeah.
It's September. Fall is coming. That means it's beer time, people. It is Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Great to be with you on this Wednesday afternoon. Hope you are having a wonderful day. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. Online at KurtzPolaris.com. And we are very happy now to welcome in the sales manager from Kettle House Brewing, Aaron Partshirt. Aaron, how are you? Nice to have you here. Thanks for coming to see us.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Now, you know, we're always happy to have people in studio, to have guests come down here and all of that. But we are very happy that you have come, because this is about beer, and Coulter and I, well, for goodness sakes, I mean, what could make us happier? We might rank beer above football. I don't know. Maybe. It is close.
1A and 1B.
It is 1A, 1B. The Brewers Association, Montana Brewers Association Fall Rendezvous is Saturday, and a rendezvous from a brewing association is quite a thing to behold. Tell us about it.
Well, like you said, the Fall Rendezvous is this weekend at Karis Park. It's a, for lack of better terms, it's a brew fest.
That is a great term.
Yeah.
No lack of better term there at all.
It's a great beer fest, though. The thing that's unique about it is that this beer fest does feature only Montana-made craft beer. So that's something that's really fun that we're really excited to be a part of. The fest starts at 3 o'clock for VIP ticket holders, and then at 4 for general entry, and then the last pour is at 8. So.
Okay. Couple things. Now, I don't think I'm, too far out over my skis to say I've attended this on more than one occasion, this particular one.
Yep.
If you're going to go to a brew fest or a rendezvous down at Karis Park, so this is the one, because, it's all good. You got the tokens and you go and you do the thing. What I would prefer to do is pay my money, get my glass, and say, whatever you want, go ahead. Have at it. That's what we're talking about here with the NBA, right? This is how you're doing it the right way.
The beer fest the tickets are $30 for general admission and $40 for VIPs, and samples are included with admission. So.
Yes. By samples, you mean, beer, right?
I do.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Also, the VIP hour, critical, because it fills up, man. They need a lot of people down here for this thing. You go there that first hour, and you got kind of access to, there's going to be some unique, I've seen, like, peach jalapeno brews and all kind of different, huckleberry cinnamon. They're back there with like alchemy, bringing up all these different types of brews across the state. So and those will go quickly though. So you want to get there and kind of check out what's good, right?
Certainly. Something that's cool about this beer fest is that we do have judging. So all of the judging will happen before the beer fest on all of the beers. There are 16 different categories, and the winners will be announced during the VIP hour. And there's always going to be a run on those beers. So if you're there early, you're going to be sure you're going to get them. And, everyone's going to bring out their A game because everyone's trying to impress their brewery brethren. So there at Kettle House, we're bringing a peach goza. So it's a salted wheat beer with peaches. We're bringing our
outstanding.
We're bringing our shady New England IPA. And then we're bringing our Slant Street Pilsner. So we're excited about the beers we're bringing. And then we're also excited to try everyone else's.
Absolutely.
Kettle House is such an entrenched part of this community and has such a long-standing great reputation. But the beer industry in Montana has evolved and grown so much. Just from your seat, how have you seen it grow and evolve? And what do you think of just the thriving industry that is craft brew in Montana?
I think it's awesome. This is going to be the 8th annual Montana Brewers Conference here in Missoula. And over the last 7 years, we've seen the industry in this state grow tremendously, and it's nearly tripled. There are nearly 90 breweries now, and in 2012 there were only 30. Mm-hmm. So,
so now it's double the state population. That's great.
Right?
2 breweries for every one of us.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
We're never going to go thirsty. But it's great. In Montana, the craft breweries have an annual economic impact of about $500 million.
Wow.
So that's something that we're really proud to be a part of that community, and we're proud to be a part of the MBA. It's a statewide association of breweries and organized for the purpose of promoting our craft. So
talk about that a little bit, because this brew fest, this fall rendezvous, is a fundraiser of sorts, but also put on by the MBA, the Montana Brewers Association. And what exactly is the function of that group, of that entity?
Yeah, so the function of the MBA is to protect and promote independent craft breweries here in the state. So whether that's through events like this where people can come out and enjoy our beers, or whether it's through legislative efforts, it's just all about promoting the local and promoting the craft.
Yeah, very good.
Why do you think craft beer thrives so much in Montana? There's a lot of quality products, but I also think there's a distinct element of Montanans being dedicated to buying things from other Montanans, right?
Yeah, I think so. Montana's an awesome place. It's I think that you kind of hit it on the head right there. It's a commitment to independence. Everyone in Montana is a fierce independent, and as craft brewers, we're fierce about that too, about being local and serving our local communities. And I think craft breweries fit right in here in Missoula and in Montana.
Well, again, it is a Saturday, 3 o'clock with your VIP ticket, 4 o'clock with your general ticket. You pay one time, $40 for VIP, $30 for the regular entry, and then you can have at it and sample the wide variety. Truly, I mean, people want to go down and have a good time and all that, but if you are into beer, there is no better scenario than this to get the broadest array of what's available and what's out there. And like you said, people are not bringing, we had an extra keg of this, we're going to throw it on the back of the trailer. We made this specifically for this event because we know everybody who is going to know about beer is going to be there at this event, right?
Yep, definitely. It is a Beer Geeks Brew Fest.
Yeah.
So we're excited to geek out with everybody down there.
Karis Park, Saturday afternoon, the 2019 NBA Fall Rendezvous. Go check it out.
You can't let her get off the hook without talking about the music, because Letter B is a great local band, and my guy, Jordan Lane, lead singer of Letter B, I just spent 3 days with him at the Gorge watching Dave Matthews. He gave me his tent and everything. So
is he going to be inspired from the Dave Fest?
He is very much like Dave, actually. He's a phenomenal songwriter. He's a great singer, great musician, so they'll be there too, and we can't let her go without giving Jordan a little shout-out.
And that's my bad, because I've seen Letter B a number of times, and they are outstanding.
They're awesome. Jordan's great.
Great outfit. So that will also add to the festivities. It's a little better than just the fans singing chants, which generally happens at the brew fest. Some they start over and then it's like the national anthem, because everybody knows the words. Have a band there that's going to do it for you.
Oh yeah, we're excited to have them, and we're thankful they're coming out. And we also I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We have 32 this year. So that's too many to list here, but I do definitely want to say thank you to you guys. Thanks to the Trail and Missoula Broadcasting for helping to sponsor us and make this possible.
It's absolutely our pleasure. We're happy to do it. Aaron Parchert, the sales manager at the Kettle House Brewing. She will be there. The Kettle House will be there, and a whole bunch of others as well in a friendly competition and beer sharing afternoon and evening down at Karis Park Saturday. Aaron, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Hour 1 in the books, hour 2 straight ahead. It's time for a Wing It Wednesday. It's Coulter's turn. 329-1899, 329-1899. You want